Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Wrap, brought to you by Michigan Medicine Headlines. I'm Dan Ellman with the Department of Communication.
And I'm Dan's co-host for the day, Bailey Merzick. We're about to bring you one of the friendliest episodes of The Wrap you've ever heard as we discuss the Friends gift shops and how they benefit everyone at Michigan Medicine.
Now, before we get into that, be our good friend and go get caught up on any episode of The Wrap you may have missed. You can find the shows on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any other podcast hosting platform. You can also find episodes on the Michigan Medicine YouTube channel and as part of the Headlines Week in Review.
All right, let's bring in Robert Newman and Julie Piazza. Can the two of you first introduce yourselves and explain your role with Friends gift shops?
So I can go first. I'm Julie Piazza. I am a child life specialist clinically, and I'm also a senior project manager with the Office of Patient Experience. And I have served on the Friends gift shop board, on the advisory board for several years, and that's why I'm here today.
And I'm Robert Newman. I am the Director of Retail Services for the Community Health Services of Michigan Medicine. That entails the Friends gift shops. It also entails Michigan Medicine Lodging. I lead both of those endeavors, and I've been with the Friends for just about 12 years.
Outstanding. So you talked about being there for 12 years. Let's start with a bit of history and go back even further than that. How long has Friends been around at Michigan Medicine, and when and why did it get started?
Friends has been around since 1959, so it's been around for a few moments. The initial incarnation of the gift shops were as a auxiliary of physicians' wives. So they created this shop, and it was volunteer driven, and the whole idea was to have a place where folks could pick up sundry items and sort of have a respite from the everyday sort of grind of what hospital life can be. That's sort of morphed into what we currently have, which is 4 locations, soon to be 5 locations, spread throughout the health services complex.
And I have a little bit to add to that, just a bit of history, because we did some delving, because it is, it's been there for a long time. But as Robert said, it began as a very small endeavor with volunteers and physicians' wives. We're a big part of that in community. And it was a small counter, starting with, candy and just whatever people thought, newspapers, things like that people needed to provide for the patients and the staff and providers at U of M hospitals. And it was just really kind of interesting for me. I'll tell just a little bit about my mom was very much involved as a volunteer, and she started volunteering in 1975. So I kind of grew up with Friends gift shop and felt like really led to be involved and, learn about it. And of course, I love retail therapy. So I'm all about that, going and visiting the shops, but it was really neat to be a part of that, and then to be able to now working at University of Michigan Health, Michigan Medicine. It's been wonderful to be able to do a circle of becoming involved on the advisory board, applying for grants to benefit programs and projects throughout the health system that benefit patients, families, and staff. So it's really kind of a cool opportunity, and for me, full circle.
Yeah, and Robert, I think, got into this a little bit, but where is Friends located, and who do you guys serve? Who are your customers?
We're located in University Hospital on the 2nd floor, sort of in the main drag of the hospital, adjacent to the cafeteria. We also have a location at the Children and Women's Facility on the 2nd floor. We have a location at the Cardiovascular Center, and there's also one at the East Ann Arbor Health Complex. We're going to be opening up a new location at the Pavilion when it opens in 2025. Really excited about that opportunity.
That's awesome. I think people, for the most part, those who work on the Hill know about the C&W and UH locations. I feel like they don't know as much about CVC, and then of course East Ann Arbor. And it's really, to me, it's kind of awesome that you're in sort of these other locations as well, because I think it's an important, resource for people, not only who work there, but obviously those, patients and visitors and stuff who are visiting. I think it's really cool that it's spread out, and I love that it's coming to the pavilion.
Mhm.
Bailey mentioned who our clients are, and probably 2/3 of them are employees. Employees are able to come in during our open hours. We also have visitors from patients and their families, but employees overwhelmingly make up the lion's share of our clientele.
That's interesting. So which organizations then are funded by the proceeds of Friends? And if you're a group at Michigan Medicine interested in funding, how can they apply?
So I can answer that. That people can apply. The recipients of the grants are projects in the community, but also at the institution, at the health system, that benefit patients and families and staff. And there's educational endeavors. There's opportunities for people. For example, Child and Family Life is a recipient of grants. The Gifts of Art is recipients of grants, and those are all programs and projects that benefit patients and families directly at the bedside or while they're waiting for an appointment. It could be an activity, it could be a support, some art supplies and materials and things like that. The guest assistance program also benefits patients and families of all ages and helps them to receive, support for things that they might not be able to afford or be able to receive care, in terms of that, or a bill to pay or things like that. They can really support them in real life and challenging moments. It's been wonderful to serve on a board that can support those things really in the moment. And it can be, we were even talking today, we had a grant as small as $50 that was able to be funded. And then we've had thousands of dollars. We've supported camps that are starting, like North Star Reach Camp, the Trails Edge Camp, to benefit, patients as they go out into the community to have an experience that they might never have ridden a horse before, and to be able to go to this camp for a week and have some respite for their family and fun for the kids themselves. It's just really wonderful to see those endeavors, and we love to hear stories about those experiences and how they really benefited.
And in addition to monetary donations, I know that volunteers play a role too. So how can someone volunteer if they wanted to help out?
The volunteer services is an institution and a member of Community Health Services. They manage volunteer intake, so it's done via mostly an online process nowadays. This is post-pandemic; it's mostly an online process. From there, the volunteers are routed to various organizations within the health system. At our height, we probably had about 60 volunteers that worked throughout our 4 stores. That number has come down a little bit, in essence, because of pandemic issues, but also because our hours have relaxed somewhat. The main thrust of volunteer services is soliciting these folks, and you could be placed in a burn unit in Mott. You could be placed in Friends gift shops. You could be placed as a care ambassador. You could be it kind of depends on where you want to be and what's your sort of your desire to be in the health system. And they do a fantastic job managing thousands and thousands of volunteers.
And I would just add to that, one of the things that our volunteers in the gift shop have really said how much they enjoy this is they might have a knack, like maybe they just always wanted to, arrange stuffed animals or help with someone who might be not feeling so great, but really needed a comfort item or a special book to read or something to, and their smiles, of course, make the difference in the experience. And that's what we're all about is, as Robert said, just people have many choices to volunteer around the community of the health system. And this is one way that they can have that front and center experience. We've even started delivering packages to, you know, and items to patients' rooms. There's, you know, flowers that can go up, but also we have, you know, an online presence as well, which is really, really nice because some people can't make it down to the shop, and it's really a nice opportunity. And it also provides it's a destination, you know, I've witnessed kids coming up to the counter and going, here's my money, and they spill out their change on the counter and go, what can I buy? You know, and it's just fun for a volunteer or a staff, you know, to be able to help to spread some joy and have that opportunity. So it's really been neat.
Yeah, and Julie, I know you mentioned your mom was a volunteer, right? Back in the 70s. How did it sort of impact your family? What sort of role did Friends have in your life?
Oh, well, you know, I'm actually a native Ann Arborite, so I kind of watched you know, the hospital grow over the years, and it was really neat. So my mom she started as a volunteer and was one of the cashiers and helped with that. And she would always just come home with these great stories of, you know, somebody got to buy something today, or I saw the special, you know, situation and joy, you know, when someone purchased something. But also knowing it was very important to her and to our family to be able to benefit others and to help in other ways that might not be a line item on somebody's budget within the hospital, but it was a really important program. And so it was really neat to watch the grant in you know, every dollar makes a difference, and we're able to put that money back into benefiting patients and families. So that was something that I witnessed and watched, and then eventually applied for my own grants. And, you know, it was just one of the programs that I was a part of was with the Ann Arbor Hands-On Museum, and they came and did programs in the Family Center at Mott Hospital, and that program really began with a seed grant from Friends. And what was so exciting was that grant made such a difference and such an impact that the museum decided, you know, we want to go get our own grants. We want to get bigger grants. We want to do more. So it was just really wonderful to see how something like that could make a difference and make an impact and really grow something that became and has become a wonderful partnership in the community.
Yeah, I love that. It's so much more than just a gift shop, right? And so many people just walk by it and think, oh, there's a shop where I can buy a teddy bear, I could buy flowers, and it's so much more than that, which is great. So if our listeners and viewers want to follow news from the Friends gift shops, how can they go about doing that?
We have an online newsletter, which is really wonderful. One of our advisory board members is in charge of communication, and she works with the staff and the volunteers and brings that information forth. So that online newsletter is definitely a way, and you can become a friend of Friends, which is really nice, and receive that. Sometimes there's announcement about sales, and there's special, you know, information about the grants that we support. And we also have an online presence where people can check out the Friends gift shop in that way. And that's where you would also find information about applying for a grant. And I just wanted to add that for applying for a grant, we really try and make it as easy as possible. There's a website, there's a wonderful video that's very easy to follow the steps. And if anybody has any questions, they can certainly, you know, write in, and we'd be happy to answer them. But those grant opportunities come 3 times a year, and it's just really wonderful for us to be able to share that funding with programs that can make a difference.
Thank you both, Robert and Julie, for joining us today. If you want to learn more about Friends gift shops and funding opportunities that are available, go to mmheadlines.org. That's mmheadlines.org.
All right, it's time for the lightning round, when we ask one of our guests 4 quick fire questions. Now, Julie, since you've been on the wrap before, you are the lucky one who's going to get the questions today. You're going to be put into the hot seat. So are you ready to go?
Okay.
Okay, so let's stick with the theme of the episode. Besides Friends, of course, what would you say is your favorite store?
Let's see. I'm a very big supporter of Amazon online.
It's convenient. Yes.
It's convenient.
Yeah. All right. Now, in your quote unquote day job, you work as a project manager in patient and family centered care and as a child life specialist. What would you say is the most satisfying part of that work?
knowing that every small act of kindness can make a difference. And to everyone's experience, it's a human experience. And that's kind of what I come away with is a smile can make a difference. Introducing yourself, working with somebody that you hadn't worked with before, collaborating. And that's one of the things I love about the Friends. It's one of the things I love about my job, and I'm very privileged in that opportunity to work with a lot of different disciplines across the institution. And it's just so much fun to see how we all together can make a difference.
Earlier this week was International Mentoring Day. So who would you say has been the biggest mentor in your career?
Okay, so even to get into my career, I would say a professor that I had way back in my undergraduate at Iowa State really made a huge impact on me. And she is the reason that I followed my career within healthcare and studied what was possible and how to improve psychosocial, emotional aspects of care. So I would say Frances Langford.
That's awesome. All right. So believe it or not, this Wednesday was National Michigan Day, which sounds oxymoronic, but let's roll with it. What is your favorite thing about the state of Michigan?
The mitten. I love it. I love the mitten. I mean, I just think, there's signs like smitten with the mitten, and, and I'm all about it. Not everybody can carry the state around in their hand, and we can. So I'm all about it.
Well, thank you again, Julie, for playing along and giving us all important information about the Friends gift shops. If you want to learn more about the gift shops and how your area can benefit from the work they do, go to mmheadlines.org. That's mmheadlines.org.
All right. And while you're there, you could check out the other featured stories from this past week. For instance, there was a look at the important Martin Luther King Jr. Day events taking place on campus. There was a Q&A with Chief Quality Officer Dr. Brooke Watts, and faculty and staff shared what they are leaving behind in 2022 in order to make this year a better year. Find all that and more at mmheadlines.org.
Okay, Dan. So we asked Julie what her favorite thing is about the state of Michigan. So what about you?
It's a good question. I love it. I grew up here, then I moved away for about 15 years and decided to come back. And they couldn't keep me away. But I love the variety of the state of Michigan. You got the urban areas, but you also have the small towns. You've got the water if you want to go see the water. There's a couple state parks up north. One's called Hartwick Pines, where you can go. It's fully wheelchair accessible, which for me is a big deal. And you just sort of get lost in the woods. There's just such variety to it. You can keep going up to the UP, got to Quamanon Falls, everything like that. I just think that everywhere you look is a little bit different. And I think that's what I love the most about the state. What about you?
Yeah, I'm all about the lakes and the summer. We always go to the west side of the state in the summer and enjoy the lakes. So that's always really fun.
Nice. All right, it's time for the weekly trivia contest. Last week, we asked listeners, name one of the three groups that recently hosted community events for patients of the Trauma Burn Center. Congratulations to Claudia Lozma, who sent in the correct answer. Now, for this week's question, here's Bailey.
This week's question is, who delivered the 33rd annual MLK Health Sciences Lecture earlier this week? Once again, who delivered the 33rd annual MLK Health Sciences Lecture earlier this week? You can find the answer in this week's headline story, and once you know it, send it to headlines@med.umich.edu for your chance to win a prize.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much to Julie and Robert for joining us, and thanks, as always, to all of our listeners and viewers for everything you do for patients, families, and each other. We'll see you next week.